The Cleveland Browns will beat the Washington Commanders on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns will beat the Washington Commanders on Sunday. Well, I tried, but it turns out that not even sorcery can save this Browns team. Hey guys, Oliver here, aka UK Browns NFL, and unfortunately this is my review of the Browns Week 5 loss against the Commanders. I suppose, where do I even start? I said last week after the Raiders loss that, I'd rather walk on Lego than do that review. Today I think I'd rather walk on Lego whilst getting kicked in the nuts than do this one. So I don't really know where I'm going to start. I think I'm going to just kick this off by kind of giving my thoughts on the current state of the Browns. I am going to do a video either this week or next week doing a kind of deep dive into where we go from here, in terms of this season and going forward into next season and so on. How do we move on from Watson? What does that look like? Etc. etc. So I will be doing a video on that, either, like I said, either this week or next week. But I just wanted to kick this review off with a quick kind of idea of how I'm feeling. I think, like most Browns fans, I'm feeling pretty down. This was a season that I had very high expectations for. I had very high expectations for the coaching staff, for the roster. Granted, yes, those expectations were reserved for the quarterback. But I just felt like after last year, with the success that we had with the rotating door that was the quarterback room, I thought we would at least get, somewhat of a viable play out of Watson that would be good enough to complement how good this team is everywhere else across the roster. I was wrong. I'm sorry to anyone that I might have misled on those expectations, because the Browns are not a good team. They are not a good team. There's no way of sugarcoating it. I don't think this is a team that's had a bad start. I mean, you look at the Bengals, who are currently 1-4, the same as the Browns, and I tweeted out yesterday, I don't think two teams have ever been more different with the same record. You've got the Bengals, who are 1-4 with MVP type numbers and performances out of Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, I think, is leading the lead in receiving yards or nearabouts, and they're still 1-4 as well. A completely different side, obviously, on the Brown side, is that we're not just 1-4, but we're 1-4 with no hope. And I think that's the sickening part, because at least if you're a Bengals fan, you can always fall back on, well, we have Joe Burrow, we have Jamar Chase. But I think the reason why this sucks so much for Browns fans is because there's not really anything to look forward to. I've seen a lot of conversation on social media about, what was worse, this or the 1-31, 2016, 2017. And I think a lot of people would agree that this feels worse. And my only explanation for that, I suppose, is at least in 16, 17 especially, we had something to look forward to, potentially. It was kind of sold to us as the rebuild was going to amount to something. So you, as odd as it sounds, you were kind of, you were more okay with losing, knowing that you had young players to get behind, and potentially it would lead to a first round pick and a number one overall pick that you could then draft a quarterback with, and that kind of stuff fills a team and a fan base with hope. So when you're this bad, but there isn't that hope, it sucks. It really does. I'm not going to tell Browns fans that it doesn't, because I'd be lying to them. I'm usually the optimistic guy. I still am. I'm never gonna I'm never gonna check out of our Browns, but I'm just being honest. And I yeah, I mean, I don't really see where they go from here this season. As I will get into the video that I do either this week or next week in terms of moving on from Watson, it's not as big of a disaster as some people have made it out. There are ways that the Browns can get out of this. And for me personally, I'm going to judge this front office and this kind of, this ownership group on how they navigate out of this, because I've made it very clear. I completely understood why they made the move. It's not the move that I would have made at the time, going back 3 years, but I completely understood the move. I understood the logic of, it's the most important position in the sport. If you're not trying to get better at that position, then what are you doing? So I had no problem. Of course, the off the field stuff was a big problem for most of us to accept, which I will get into. But in terms of just purely football, I understood the move, and I'm not going to now sit here and pile on and say that, oh, you should have never done it, because I completely understood why they made it. But as I said, now it's about, I think, what will save this front office and this, I say ownership, the ownership can do what they want, but will be how they navigate out of this. It's just, they put a big ask on Browns fans. They essentially asked us to put up with being called awful things on social media. People claiming that we defend the actions that the quarterback was accused of. So yeah, I don't really blame any Browns fan for being angry today. I don't blame any Browns fan for wanting the quarterback, never wanting to see him play again. I'm with you. I don't really want to see him play, to be honest. I don't really know how they're going to even attempt to bring him back to Cleveland for a game. If he doesn't get booed out the stadium, there won't be anyone there to boo him out of the stadium. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks right now. This is not a good football team. I will title this video as "It's Over," because I do believe it is over for Watson. Whether or not you could say that it's pretty stupid to only make that decision now, given the signs that pointed towards it. But it is over. I don't think Watson has an NFL career after this. I'd be shocked if another team signed him. I think once the Browns pull the plug, that's his NFL career done. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm not going to tell any fan how they should react. I completely understand all the sentiment from Browns fans today. I don't really know. I'm angry as well. I waited a day to do this video, because if I did it yesterday, my tone would have probably been slightly more different. But yeah, that's kind of just where I am. I am going to quickly just dive into this game, because that is the whole point of this video, was supposed to be a review of the game. But as I'm sure most of you watched it and know, it didn't go well. But I will just do a quick review of it. I just wanted to kind of give my quick thoughts now on the situation before I did it. But as I said, I will be doing a video on this, a full length video, either this week or next week, where I'm kind of going to give my overall thoughts on the Watson situation. And if you want to know where I lie on any of these debates, that will be the video for you. I'll make it all clear in that video, but kind of just give an idea of what I think the Browns should do, how I think they should move on, and kind of where we go from here. So that's that for just my quick thoughts before I do get into this game. So unfortunately, I am now going to quickly talk about the game. Right, let's review the game. Like I said, I would probably rather be walking on Lego whilst getting kicked in the nuts by Brandon Aubrey than doing this game review, but let's do it. Let's talk about this game. The Browns lost 34-13 against the Commanders in a game in which the Browns offense was yet again unable to score 20 points. They were the only NFL team headed into this game that was yet to score 20 points in a game. They remain the only team in the NFL that is yet to score 20 points in a game. The Commanders won the opening kickoff coin toss, elected to defer, which at the time made me think, when was the last time that we won an opening kickoff coin toss? Genuinely, I cannot put my mind to the last time that we won one. I'm pretty sure last season we lost every single coin toss to start a game. It just feels like there's no point even doing the coin toss. The Browns are going to be receiving the ball to start the game. That just seems to be how it always goes. So obviously, right on cue, Browns get the ball, and something that they've actually, despite everything else, been quite good at this year, which is their opening drive. They, going into this game, they had four opening drive scores in 4 games, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. And this was the first week where they did not get a score on their opening drive, which I made a joke at the time. Maybe that's a good thing, because we saw how well those opening drive scores took us the previous 4 weeks. Turns out, nope, that was just a sign of what was to come. Just more ineptitude out of the offense, just complete and lack of any offensive output from this team. The first quarter was essentially just delaying the inevitable. The Commanders drived on us pretty much. Well, we got a 3 and out to start the game, actually, like it seems to be, like we all do. But the ensuing drive, they drove down Jaden Daniels with a 40-yard pass to set him up first and goal. And the Browns defense was able to hold on. They got an interception on Jaden Daniels. I believe that is his first of the year or second. So something that not many teams have been able to do. But as I said, it was just delaying the inevitable. You gave the ball back to the offense. They were unable to do anything with it. So, the bad field position, because of that, the defense was in a tough spot and ended up giving the rushing touchdown to Brian Robinson, who was questionable to play this game, and they probably would have done better if he didn't play, because he contributed quite a bit in this game. So that was the first quarter, pretty much all drained by those 2 Commander drives. The second quarter, the Browns got off with a great start. They managed points. They actually managed to get a field goal. Dustin Hopkins with another 50-yard field goal to add to his resume. But as I said, it went downhill pretty quickly. This Browns offense was unable to get a first down, let alone keep any drives alive. I think they were 0 for 7 on third downs in the first half. Pretty sure they were only 1 for 13 on the game. Just absolutely inexcusable. So after the Commanders put the score up to 10-3 with a Austin Seibert field goal in the second quarter, they then just put it on us. 2 touchdowns to end the half in the last 4 minutes, to obviously take a pretty big 24-3 lead into the half. It was Washington's biggest lead in a game at half, I think, since 2015, I might have read on the broadcast. So, I'd want to sit here and blame the defense. It's easy to get annoyed at the defense when they are giving up big plays in the game, but in the end of the day, when you're out on the field so much because your offense is unable to do anything, you've got to give them a bit more slack, I think, in my opinion. Going on to the second half of this game, it was pretty much the same as the first half. The Browns, once again, unable to move the ball. They were able to get a field goal, 30-yard field goal from Dustin Hopkins, but it didn't really matter. Jeremy Nichols was able to finish off a drive, 9-play, 80-yard drive with a 3-yard touchdown, and then an Austin Seibert field goal towards the end of the third quarter was the nail in the coffin. If the nail wasn't already in there, 34-6 at that point. Browns are pretty much done. They can't move the ball. I mean, even in the first quarter, when they went down, the second quarter, sorry, when they went down 2 touchdowns, I think most people checked out then because I don't have any hope in this offense scoring more than 20 points, let alone coming back from a 2 touchdown deficit. So it was, I think a lot of people checked out at that point. So I said it, if that was the nail in the coffin, but I think the nail was already in the coffin. The Browns were able to get a garbage time touchdown, 10-yard pass to Jordan Akins from Watkins. But as I said, it's garbage time. The only thing that really does is, maybe get a few people their parlays or their accumulators if they for some reason had a Jordan Akins touchdown on that selection, which I doubt they did. But yeah, that's the game. Like I said, I don't really want to go too much into the game as a whole. Watson finished the day 15 for 28, 125 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels actually completed less passes than Watson. He was 14 for 25, but for 238 yards, a touchdown and an interception. And I think the biggest thing for me, personally, and similar to last week, I said in my keys to victory, and all 3 of my keys to victory last week turned out being what they didn't do and what cost them the game, and it pretty much happened again this week. My biggest concern about this Commanders team was that rush attack, and I said that the Browns were going to have to do a pretty good job of stopping that rush attack, and they weren't able to do that. Over 200 yards rushing for the Commanders. 3 of their touchdowns finished with touchdown runs. I think they had 8 first downs by rushes, so we were unable to stop the rush attack from the Commanders, which granted is one of the better rush attacks in the league, but they weren't even able to slow it down. Again, high rushing yards, good efficiency on those rushing attempts. I think they had over 6 yards per rush attempt against us. So the run defense was getting cooked. But as I said earlier, I think you've got to give this defense some slack. When you're playing on a team that is so inept on offense and is unable to even give you the slightest bit of help, I think it's disheartening for the defense. You're less likely to want to make that play, because what are you making that play for? You're going to be back on the field in 5 minutes after the offense hands it straight back to him anyway. So you can understand why the defense seems to be giving up these plays. Granted, it's not great. It's not something you still want to see. Of course you don't. You want to see this defense that was one of the best defense in the league last year continue that. But I just think it's important to remember any arguments that we do have, and any criticisms we do have of this defense, we just got to remember what they're having to play with on the other side of the ball, which again in my key to victories was a collaborative effort, and once again was far from that. I think everyone was bad yesterday. Sorry. Watson, I'll start with him. He was terrible, absolutely terrible. I think he had a QBR of 8.7. We all said after week 1 that a QBR of 9 cannot happen again. It's inexcusable. It just cannot happen again. And it happened again. I'm done. I can't be bothered watching this guy play football for my team anymore. I'm sure most of you feel that same way. And I know a lot of people are going to do this whole, you can't just blame the quarterback stuff. But firstly, no one's saying that. First and foremost, no one's saying, you'd be stupid to say it's just the quarterback and this offensive line is great and these wide receivers are great. No, of course not. The whole offense is to blame. The whole offense has contributed to the offense being terrible. But in the end of the day, there's only one person on that offense that's getting paid $230 million and that we had to give 3 first-round picks for. So the argument just doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. Yes, if we put Winston in there, is it going to get much better? Probably not. If we put DTR in there, is it going to get much better? Probably not. But in the end of the day, Deshaun Watson's the biggest contributing factor to that. With Watson being as bad as he has been, it doesn't really matter how bad the O-line is. I've seen bad O-lines before, and quarterbacks manage. I've seen wide receivers drop the ball before. I'm a Browns fan. Of course I've seen it. But again, I've seen teams manage. Something you cannot manage around is the worst quarterback in the league. And that's putting it politely. His play this year is that of the worst quarterback in the league. As I said earlier on in this video, I will be doing a video either this week or next week where I will talk about these thoughts more. But in case you were wondering, yes, that is where I am. I'm done with the quarterback. I don't really want to watch any more from him, but unfortunately, I think we will. But yeah, that's where it starts with. It starts with the quarterback and it ends with the quarterback. And if anyone, I understand the argument. Yes, the O-line has been dreadful. The wide receivers can't catch a cold. But it all falls back to the quarterback. It all falls back to the guy that we paid $230 million to come here and the guy that we traded 3 first-round picks for. 3 years and we haven't seen a single return in our investment. It's time to pull the plug. Let's be real. It's just, let's pull the plug and move on. That's where I'm at. That's where most fans at. One silver lining from this weekend. This is the most united I've seen Browns fans in quite a while. And as bad as, pardon me, as bad as the Browns are, a united Browns fan base is a beautiful thing to see. So I suppose that's my thoughts on this game. It was hard for me not to kind of go back and forth between am I doing a review here or am I just kind of letting my emotions about this team and this quarterback out. I think I kind of found the balance there. Granted, it probably wasn't the best game review you've ever heard, and I don't doubt that. But I just wanted to talk about this game and also talk about kind of where I'm at and where us as Browns fans are at. But again, as I've said, I will be doing a video either this week or next week, doing a deeper dive into the current Browns situation, where we are, where we go from here, and basically how do we look up? Because I think it's quite hard for a lot of fans now to see any light at the end of the tunnel. But there is always light at the end of the tunnel, especially in sports. The most beautiful thing about it is that there's always next week. Something my dad told me at a very young age when I would get very upset when even my team, me playing myself in my glory days, or watching my favourite football team, Swansea City. If any of you know much about Swansea City, we didn't win many games. We've never won many games. We're not one of these, Liverpools or Man Uniteds, but so I used to get upset when we'd lose games as a kid and all of that. And it's one thing that's always stuck with me, and something that my dad told me back then, which was the best thing about sports is that there's always next week. So as bad as it is, just try and remember that it is just a sport. The most beautiful thing about the sport is, the connections we make within it. Browns fans are the best fans in the world. So I expect nothing less from this fan base than, being able to get through this. We've got through worse. So that's the way you've got to look at it. But again, this does suck. I'm not going to have a go at any fan for being upset. That's just where I'm at. So that does it for me today. That's my review of the Browns Commanders. Very disappointing week 5 loss. So as always, guys, please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a like. It means a lot to me. I say it every video. If I can talk to 4 Browns fans a day, I would be happy, because not many things make me happier than talking about Browns football with Browns fans. So please subscribe to my channel, come and join the community as we hopefully get slightly more positive results as we go on through the season. Cheers, guys, and go Browns.